From the Cold War to modern battlefields, here are the most destructive weapons ever built. Have you ever wondered what the most powerful weapon in the world is? I mean, a weapon so insane, so terrifying that it could literally change the world in an instant. Today, we're going to count them down. We've spent weeks researching and compiling the most mind-blowing, earth-shattering weapons ever created by humankind. This isn't just about big explosions. It's about weapons that cause pure terror and change the rules of war forever. We're going on a crazy journey through history, starting with a weapon that brings nightmares to life and counting all the way down to the single most powerful device ever detonated by humans. I'm talking about a bomb so big it literally shook the planet. Each weapon on this list is more insane than the last, and trust me, you won't believe what's at number 1. We're ranking these based on their destructive power, their psychological impact, and their ability to change history. So, get ready, because we're about to explore the 10 most terrifying weapons ever created. We're going to show you things you've only seen in movies, but they're real. We'll break down how they work, the damage they caused, and why they are so feared. Make sure you watch until the end, because the final weapon on this list is something you will never forget. Let's get into it. Alright, kicking off our list at number 10 is a weapon straight out of a horror movie. The flamethrower. Imagine you're in a trench, the air thick with smoke and the sound of gunfire. Suddenly, a colossal stream of liquid fire erupts from across the battlefield, roaring towards you like a dragon's breath. It's not just an explosion, it's a relentless, terrifying river of fire that consumes everything in its path. This isn't science fiction. This was the reality for soldiers in World War I and II. The psychological impact of the flamethrower was arguably even more powerful than its physical destruction. Soldiers would rather surrender or flee than face this thing. The sheer terror of being burned alive was a weapon in itself. It was designed not just to kill, but to break the enemy's will to fight. Seeing your friends, your cover, and everything around you instantly engulfed in flames that stick to surfaces and are almost impossible to extinguish. It's a level of fear that's hard to even comprehend. These weren't just small, handheld devices either. Some flamethrowers were mounted on tanks, like the Sherman Zippo tanks, which could shoot fire for over 100 yards. They could clear out fortified bunkers, trenches, and entire buildings in seconds. The fire would suck the oxygen out of enclosed spaces, suffocating anyone inside, even if the flames didn't reach them directly. It was a brutal, horrifyingly effective tool for close-quarters combat. The technology is simple but devastating. It's basically a high-pressure system that sprays a thickened, flammable liquid, usually a type of gasoline jelly. When ignited, it creates a sticky, burning stream that adheres to literally everything: walls, vehicles, and people. The intense heat, reaching over 1,000 degrees Celsius, caused unimaginable suffering. It was a weapon that left no survivors, only scorched earth and traumatized soldiers. Even today, the image of the flamethrower is synonymous with the brutality of war. While modern militaries have largely phased them out in favor of other incendiary weapons, their legacy of terror is undeniable. They represent a primal fear, fire, weaponized in one of its most gruesome forms. There's a reason they're banned by international conventions for use against personnel. Starting our list with such a personal and terrifying weapon really sets the stage for what's to come. We're just getting started, and believe me, the weapons from here on out only get bigger, more destructive, and more terrifying. The flamethrower changed close-quarters combat forever, proving that sometimes the most frightening weapons are the ones you can see coming. Coming in at number 9, we're taking the horror of fire and multiplying it by 1,000. We're talking about napalm. If the flamethrower was a targeted stream of terror, napalm was a blanket of hellfire dropped from the sky. It's a gel-like substance that sticks to skin, to buildings, to trees, and burns and burns and burns. It's one of the most infamous and feared incendiary weapons ever deployed in modern warfare. First used extensively in World War II and becoming notorious during the Vietnam War, napalm was designed for one primary purpose: area denial and mass destruction. Imagine entire villages, forests, and enemy positions being coated in a thick, gooey, flammable substance that can't be easily put out with water. In fact, trying to extinguish it can sometimes just spread the fire further. It creates a firestorm that consumes everything. The psychological effect was devastating. The sight of planes dropping canisters that would burst into massive rolling fireballs on the ground was enough to shatter enemy morale. Soldiers and civilians alike lived in constant fear of these firebombs. The infamous girl in the picture from the Vietnam War, Phan Thi Kim Phuc, running naked and screaming from a napalm attack, became a global symbol of the horror of this weapon. It showed the world the indiscriminate and horrific suffering it caused. What makes napalm so uniquely terrifying is its composition. It's a thickening agent mixed with petroleum or a similar fuel. This mixture makes it burn for longer at incredibly high temperatures, up to 2,700 degrees Celsius, and stick to virtually any surface. It was horrifyingly effective at destroying jungle cover, flushing out enemy troops from fortified positions, and causing widespread destruction that was nearly impossible to contain. The sheer scale of its use is mind-boggling. During the Vietnam War, the United States dropped nearly 400,000 tons of napalm bombs. That's an unbelievable amount of destruction. The fires it created were so intense they could alter local weather patterns, creating their own firestorms that would rage for hours or even days. It didn't just destroy the enemy, it destroyed the entire environment. Napalm represents a terrifying leap in incendiary warfare. It took the concept of fire and made it into a weapon of mass destruction that could be delivered from the air, covering vast areas in an unstoppable inferno. While its use is now heavily restricted under international law, its legacy as a symbol of the horrors of war is permanent. It's a weapon that doesn't just kill, it incinerates, leaving behind nothing but ash and trauma. At number 8, we have a weapon so massive, its nickname is the mother of all bombs. And honestly, that name is not an exaggeration. We're talking about the GBU-43/B Massive Ordnance Air Blast, or MOAB. This is the largest conventional non-nuclear bomb ever used in combat by the United States. This thing is an absolute monster. To put it in perspective, it's a 30-foot-long, 21,600-pound behemoth. When this bomb is deployed, it's not dropped from a regular bomber. It's so huge it has to be pushed out the back of a C-130 cargo plane. It's guided by GPS to its target, and just before it hits the ground, it detonates. The result is an explosion so powerful it's often compared to a small nuclear device. The blast is equivalent to 11 tons of TNT. I want you to picture that. 11 tons of TNT going off all at once. The primary effect of the MOAB is its colossal blast wave. The overpressure it creates is immense, capable of collapsing cave systems, destroying buildings, and obliterating everything within a blast radius of several hundred meters. The psychological impact on anyone who witnesses it is insane. Imagine seeing a mushroom cloud rise into the sky, feeling the ground shake like an earthquake, and hearing a deafening roar from miles away. You wouldn't even know what hit you. The MOAB was famously used for the first and only time in combat in 2017. The United States dropped one on an ISIS tunnel complex in Afghanistan. The goal wasn't just to destroy the tunnels, but to completely demoralize the enemy. Reports from the ground said the blast was felt for miles and completely annihilated the target. It sent a clear message: there is nowhere to hide. This weapon is a perfect example of shock and awe. It's not just about the physical destruction. It's about creating an overwhelming sense of fear and helplessness. The sheer size of the explosion is designed to be a spectacle of power. When the MOAB detonates, it creates a pressure wave that can reportedly crush the internal organs of anyone near the blast zone. It's a terrifyingly efficient way to clear a large area. While there are technically larger non-nuclear bombs in existence, like Russia's father of all bombs, the MOAB is the one that has been proven in battle and has captured the public's imagination. It represents the absolute peak of conventional explosive power, a line just short of going nuclear. It's a weapon that blurs the lines, creating a tactical nuke-like effect without the radioactive fallout. And for that reason, it's one of the most terrifying conventional weapons ever built. Moving up to number 7, we enter a realm of warfare that is completely different, silent, and invisible. We're talking about biological weapons. This isn't about massive explosions or fireballs. This is about unleashing disease and pestilence on an enemy population. It's a weapon that doesn't target soldiers or buildings, but attacks the very fabric of life itself. The sheer terror of bioweapons comes from their unseen, indiscriminate, and uncontrollable nature. Imagine a scenario where a deadly pathogen like anthrax, smallpox, or a genetically engineered virus is released into a major city. It could be sprayed as an aerosol, put into the water supply, or delivered by mail. There's no bang, no explosion. For days or even weeks, nobody would even know anything was wrong. Then people start getting sick. By the time authorities figure out what's happening, it could be too late. A pandemic could already be underway, spreading exponentially. The history of biological warfare is long and gruesome. From catapulting plague-infected bodies over castle walls in the Middle Ages to Japan's infamous Unit 731 in World War II, which conducted horrific human experiments with diseases like cholera and typhoid. These weapons have always been considered uniquely evil because they erase the line between combatant and civilian. A virus doesn't care if you're a soldier or a child. It just infects and kills. The potential for devastation is almost limitless. A small amount of a highly contagious agent could theoretically infect millions of people. It could cripple a country's economy, overwhelm its healthcare system, and cause mass panic and social breakdown. Unlike a bomb that destroys a specific area, a biological weapon keeps on spreading. It's a weapon that keeps on killing long after it's been deployed, and it can even mutate, becoming something new and even more dangerous. This is why international treaties like the Biological Weapons Convention of 1972 were created, banning the development, production, and stockpiling of these horrific agents. However, the fear remains that a rogue state or a terrorist group could acquire or develop them. The technology to create them is becoming more accessible with advances in genetic engineering and biotechnology, opening the door to designer plagues that we have no cure for. Ultimately, the fear of biological weapons is the fear of the unknown. It's the terror of an invisible enemy that you can't see, can't fight, and can't escape. It turns the air you breathe and the people you love into potential threats. While a bomb destroys a city, a bioweapon has the potential to threaten our entire species, making it one of the most existentially terrifying concepts in warfare. At number 6, we take a giant leap in scale and enter the age of global annihilation. We're talking about intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. These aren't just weapons, they are doomsday machines. An ICBM is essentially a multi-stage rocket that can travel thousands of miles, leave the Earth's atmosphere, and deliver multiple nuclear warheads to targets on the other side of the planet in about 30 minutes. The sheer existence of ICBMs changed everything. During the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union built thousands of them, pointing them at each other's cities. This created the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD. The idea was simple and terrifying. If you launch your missiles at us, we'll launch ours at you. And both of our nations, and possibly the entire world, will be destroyed. It's a global game of chicken where the price of flinching is human extinction. Let's break down how insane this is. A single modern ICBM like the Russian RS-28 Sarmat or the American LGM-30 Minuteman III can carry multiple warheads. These are called MIRVs, or Multiple Independently Targetable Reentry Vehicles. This means one missile can hit several different cities at once. Each of those warheads can be many times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. So one missile launch could effectively wipe out an entire state or small country. The speed and trajectory of an ICBM make it almost impossible to stop. Once launched, it rockets into space, travels at speeds of over 17,000 miles per hour, and then releases its warheads, which fall back to Earth, guided by incredibly precise navigation systems. The window to detect, track, and intercept them is terrifyingly small. By the time you know it's coming, you have minutes, not hours, to react. The infrastructure behind these weapons is just as mind-boggling. They are kept in hardened underground silos, hidden deep in the countryside, or on nuclear submarines silently patrolling the oceans, ready to launch at a moment's notice. For decades, thousands of people have worked in shifts 24/7, their fingers on the button, in a constant state of readiness to end the world. It's a level of tension that is almost impossible to imagine. ICBMs represent the ultimate threat. They are the delivery system for Armageddon. The fact that hundreds of these weapons are still active and ready to launch today is one of the most terrifying realities of our modern world. They are a constant, silent reminder that our civilization is only 30 minutes away from total collapse. They don't just win wars, they make the entire concept of winning obsolete. For number 5, we're taking a step back from the nuclear age to look at the brute force of conventional warfare. scaled up to a monstrous level. We're talking about heavy artillery, specifically some of the biggest cannons ever built. These are weapons that were designed not just to destroy a target, but to pulverize it into dust from miles away. I'm talking about city-leveling monsters like the Tsar Cannon and Germany's Big Bertha from World War I. Let's start with Big Bertha. During World War I, Germany needed a way to smash the incredibly strong forts of Belgium and France. Their solution was a howitzer so massive it had to be transported in pieces by rail and assembled on-site by a crew of 200 men over several days. This beast fired a 2,000-pound shell over 9 miles. When one of these shells hit, it didn't just explode. It created a crater over 40 feet wide and sent shrapnel and debris flying for hundreds of yards. The sound alone was a weapon. Soldiers reported hearing a sound like a freight train screaming through the air before the cataclysmic impact. These guns were instrumental in breaking through heavily fortified lines that were thought to be impenetrable. They could reduce a modern concrete fort to a pile of rubble with just a few well-aimed shots. The sheer destructive power was unlike anything the world had seen at that point. But even Big Bertha looks small compared to some of the other giants of artillery. Let's talk about the Schwerer Gustav, a Nazi Germany railway gun that was the largest caliber rifled weapon ever used in combat. This thing was a true monster. It weighed 1,350 tons and stood several stories high. It fired a 7-ton shell, that's the weight of an elephant, up to a distance of 29 miles. It was used during the siege of Sevastopol, where it fired shells that could penetrate over 100 feet of solid earth or 23 feet of reinforced concrete. And then there's the purely symbolic but equally insane Tsar Cannon in Russia. Cast in 1586, it has a caliber of 890 millimeters, making it the largest caliber cannon ever made. While it was never fired in war, it stands as a testament to humanity's centuries-old obsession with building bigger and bigger weapons. These massive guns represent a type of warfare focused on overwhelming brute force destruction. These colossal cannons were the superweapons of their day. They required massive logistical efforts to move and operate, but their impact on the battlefield was undeniable. They could reshape the landscape, shatter fortifications, and instill terror in anyone on the receiving end. They are the ancestors of modern long-range missiles, proving that the desire to strike an enemy from a great and unassailable distance is a timeless military ambition. At number 4, we have a weapon that isn't just a single device, but a floating city of destruction. We're talking about the modern aircraft carrier. These are honestly the ultimate symbols of global power projection. A single U.S. Nimitz-class or Ford-class carrier is over 1,000 feet long, powered by 2 nuclear reactors, and can operate for over 20 years without refueling. It's like a sovereign piece of territory that can be moved anywhere in the world. An aircraft carrier is essentially a mobile airbase. It carries an air wing of up to 90 aircraft, including fighter jets, electronic warfare planes, and helicopters. From the middle of an ocean, a carrier strike group can launch hundreds of sorties a day, striking targets hundreds of miles inland. It can control the sky, the sea, and project overwhelming force against countries that don't even have a coastline nearby. The sheer power concentrated in one carrier strike group is, honestly, mind-blowing. A carrier doesn't travel alone. It's protected by a fleet of guided missile cruisers, destroyers, and submarines. This floating fortress is armed with advanced missile defense systems, cannons, and torpedoes. It's a multi-layered shield designed to repel any attack from the air, the surface, or underwater. Trying to attack a U.S. carrier strike group is often described as a suicide mission. Think about the logistics for a second. A modern carrier is home to over 5,000 sailors and pilots. It has its own hospital, shops, and power grid. It can desalinate its own fresh water and has enough food stores to operate for months on end. It is a self-contained instrument of war, capable of deploying anywhere in the world's oceans within days, ready to conduct sustained combat operations far from home. The psychological impact of an aircraft carrier appearing off your coast is immense. It's the ultimate gunboat diplomacy. It sends an unmistakable message of power and intent without firing a single shot. The ability to park a mobile airfield anywhere in the world gives a nation an unparalleled strategic advantage. It can enforce no-fly zones, conduct humanitarian missions, or unleash a devastating aerial assault. In an era of long-range missiles and cyber warfare, some question the carrier's future, but for now, nothing else comes close to its ability to project power. It is a testament to incredible engineering, logistics, and military strategy. An aircraft carrier isn't just a ship, it's the heart of a naval empire, a mobile piece of a superpower that can bring overwhelming force to bear on any corner of the globe. Cracking our top 3 is a weapon that is redefining the rules of modern warfare and, honestly, threatening to make decades of military strategy obsolete. We're talking about hypersonic missiles. These aren't just faster missiles, they represent a completely new class of threat. A hypersonic weapon travels at speeds of Mach 5 or higher. That's 5 times the speed of sound, or about 1 mile per second. What makes them so terrifying isn't just their incredible speed, but their maneuverability. A traditional ballistic missile, like an ICBM, follows a predictable arc through space. This makes it possible, though very difficult, to track and intercept. A hypersonic glide vehicle, on the other hand, can be launched on a rocket and then glide to its target, making sharp, unpredictable turns within the atmosphere. This combination of speed and maneuverability makes them virtually unstoppable with current defense systems. By the time a radar system detects a hypersonic missile, it's already too late to do anything about it. There is no time to calculate an intercept course, launch a counter missile, and hit it. It effectively bypasses all existing missile defense shields, rendering billions of dollars of military infrastructure useless. Countries like Russia, China, and the United States are locked in a new arms race to develop and deploy these weapons. Russia claims to have already used its Kinzhal hypersonic missile in combat in Ukraine. China has showcased its DF-17 missile, which carries a hypersonic glide vehicle. This technology fundamentally changes the strategic balance of power. A country with hypersonic missiles can hold any target on Earth at risk, with very little warning and almost no chance of defense. Imagine a weapon that can travel from Moscow to London in 5 minutes, or from Beijing to Washington in under an hour, and cannot be stopped. They can be armed with either conventional or nuclear warheads. A conventional hypersonic strike could take out a high-value target like an aircraft carrier, a command center, or a satellite dish with pinpoint accuracy before the enemy even knows they're under attack. A nuclear-armed one combines unstoppability with ultimate destruction. The development of hypersonic weapons is creating a new era of instability. It shortens decision-making time for world leaders in a crisis from minutes to seconds. The fear is that this could lead to a use-it-or-lose-it mentality, where countries feel pressured to strike first in a conflict, believing it's their only chance. This is a weapon that threatens to make the world a much more dangerous and unpredictable place, ushering in a new age of high-speed, unstoppable warfare. At number 2, we have the weapon that has defined the modern world and held humanity hostage for over 75 years, the nuclear bomb. This isn't just a bigger bomb, it's a weapon that unleashes the fundamental forces of the universe. By splitting atoms, fission, or forcing them together, fusion, a nuclear weapon releases an amount of energy that is millions of times more powerful than any conventional explosive. The world witnessed this terrifying power for the first time in August 1945. The little boy bomb dropped on Hiroshima, and the Fat Man bomb dropped on Nagasaki, Japan, instantly killed over 100,000 people and brought World War II to an abrupt end. The images from those cities are seared into human consciousness, the mushroom clouds, the ghostly outlines of vaporized people on walls, and the survivors suffering from horrific burns and radiation sickness. A nuclear explosion is a multi-stage event of pure horror. First, there's the blinding flash of light, hotter than the surface of the sun, that can instantly incinerate everything for miles. Then comes the immense blast wave, a wall of compressed air moving faster than the speed of sound, leveling buildings and turning them into rubble. This is followed by a firestorm, a massive inferno that sucks in oxygen and creates hurricane-force winds of fire. But the terror doesn't end there. The deadliest and most insidious part of a nuclear weapon is the radioactive fallout. Invisible particles are thrown high into the atmosphere and can travel for hundreds or thousands of miles, contaminating land, water, and air for years, decades, or even centuries. It poisons the very environment, causing cancer, birth defects, and a slow, painful death for anyone exposed. During the Cold War, the USA and the Soviet Union built up arsenals of tens of thousands of these weapons, creating enough firepower to destroy the world many times over. The concept of a full-scale nuclear exchange led to the terrifying idea of nuclear winter, a scenario where so much dust and soot is kicked into the atmosphere that it blocks out the sun, plunging the Earth into a deep freeze and causing a global famine that would kill most of what's left of humanity. Nuclear weapons are the ultimate deterrent. They are so terrible that their main purpose is to never be used. Their existence has prevented large-scale wars between major powers for decades, but at the cost of living under a perpetual shadow of annihilation. They are the reason we have ICBMs, nuclear submarines, and a constant low-level fear that one day something could go horribly wrong. They are, without a doubt, one of the most terrifying things humanity has ever conceived. And here we are, at number 1 on our list of the most terrifying weapons ever created. We've seen fire, disease, and city-destroying bombs. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to this. We're talking about the AN-602, better known as the Tsar Bomba. This was a Soviet thermonuclear bomb, and it holds the undisputed record as the single most powerful explosive device ever detonated by humankind. On October 30th, 1961, the Soviet Union tested this monster over the Novaya Zemlya archipelago in the Arctic Ocean. The numbers associated with this test are so insane they're hard to even wrap your head around. The bomb had a yield of 50 megatons. That's 50 million tons of TNT. To put that in perspective, that is more than 3,300 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It was more powerful than all the explosives used in World War II combined, detonated in a single instant. The bomb was so massive that a specially modified bomber had to carry it. And even then, they had to attach a giant parachute to the bomb to slow its descent, giving the plane just enough time to try and escape the blast. The pilot and crew were given only a 50% chance of survival. When it detonated 2.5 miles above the ground, the flash of light was visible over 600 miles away. People 140 miles away reported feeling the heat. The mushroom cloud it created was apocalyptic. It rose 40 miles into the air, punching through the stratosphere and into the mesosphere. That is 7 times the height of Mount Everest. The base of the cloud was 25 miles wide. The shock wave from the blast was so powerful, it circled the Earth 3 times. Windows were shattered in Norway and Finland, hundreds of miles away. The seismic shock was measurable all over the planet. The island it was tested over was completely leveled, flattened, and scoured clean. The ground was melted into a glassy plain. The test was a pure demonstration of power, a political statement during the height of the Cold War. It was designed to be so terrifyingly huge that it would shock the world into silence. And it worked. The sheer scale of the destruction was beyond anything anyone had ever imagined. The Tsar Bomba was originally designed to be 100 megatons, but the Soviets scaled it back to 50 to reduce the insane amount of nuclear fallout. Even at half its potential strength, it was a planet-altering weapon. It represents the absolute zenith of humanity's quest for destructive power, a weapon so big it's practically useless for actual warfare. It's a monument to the madness of the Cold War and stands as the most terrifying thing we have ever built. From ancient siege weapons to modern nukes, these are the machines that changed warfare forever. Which one do you think is the scariest? We've journeyed from the visceral horror of the Flamethrower to the planet-shaking power of the Tsar Bomba. These 10 weapons represent the peak of human ingenuities and our capacity for destruction. Each one didn't just cause death, it created a new kind of fear, changing military strategy and the course of history itself. The story of these weapons is the story of an endless arms race, where every new defense leads to a more powerful offense, from bigger cannons to faster missiles to bombs that can crack the sky. It's a terrifying cycle, and it leaves us with a huge question. Where does it end? As technology gets even more advanced with AI, drones, and cyber warfare, the next generation of terrifying weapons might be something we can't even imagine yet. We want to know what you guys think. Which weapon on this list absolutely blew your mind? Was it the silent terror of bioweapons or the raw, unbelievable power of the Tsar Bomba? Let me know in the comments below which one you think is the most terrifying and why. If there's a weapon you think should have been on this list, tell us. We read every single comment. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more insane top 10s, and hopefully we'll never have to see any of these used again.